Okay, guys, I'm back. Basically speaking, I've had this thing AFKing all night long, and basically, just getting in a little bit of recording the few hours that I have before I have to go to class. So basically, as I'm sitting down there, checking out the progress of this thing, I realize that for everything to work out, I'm going to need ice. So I'm probably going to go find myself an ice spikes biome so that I can basically, get some of the packed ice that they have there, or if I can stumble across some, I might use basically, yeah, I might just use, I might just harvest regular ice so that I can basically convert it into packed ice. Well, honestly, that idea was fruitful, but it's taking a little bit too long, and basically, I don't have that much time to keep recording, so I'm just gonna go out and try and find either a colder biome or hopefully come across an ice spikes biome. The worst part about it is, while I was searching for King Ghidorah, I actually passed one, but there was a burning Godzilla there, so it wasn't exactly the best place to leave a waypoint, if you know what I'm saying. So, I'm gonna go out searching for an ice spikes biome or basically any kind of cold biome where there'll be a higher quantity of ice. So, I'll catch you guys when I find it. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I've got about 4 stacks of ice here, but I just gotta say it, guys. I am just basically a big old dumb doofy doof. And I gotta stop saying that, basically based on the off chance that Markiplier might one day find my videos, and he might not take it kindly that I'm basically using his jokes. I mean, so I don't know. I gotta come up with something a bit more snappy, something that's more my own. I am a doof du jour. Yeah, that sounds like a soup. Anyway. Anyway, I'm just doing a really quick video here because great news! One of my classes got canceled for the day. Yay! Too bad that all my classes can't be canceled for the day because I really don't want to leave my apartment. But basically, I've got a little bit of a break. I've got about actually, I've only got about 15 minutes before I have to leave my apartment again in order to basically go have lunch with my sister because we basically planned it out. We're gonna have a kind of a social kind of thing basically, and I'm gonna have someone to talk to, But anyway, I was just being a big old dumb doofy doof because I was basically going out, I was heading east or south, whichever way I was going, arbitrarily looking for a cold biome where there would be lots of ice, and then suddenly I had a revelation that I have this compass that literally points to whatever I want it to, wherever I want it to. And as you can see, I eventually realized that I used it to find a frozen river biome, but let's basically just look for anything that's closer at the moment. So, because that's basically still set to the one that I was basically close by to. So, let's search. Yep, there was one just in that direction. So, let's go check it out. I mean, actually, you know what? Let's just teleport there. Unbelievable. A cold biome so close, and I'm betting that this is like close to the Ice Spikes biome where the Burning Godzilla was. But who knows? Maybe this is like, well, I'll definitely have to get like a lot of the ice from here and explore, because another thing that basically just proves that I am just a doof du jour is the fact that I forgot you can't craft packed ice from just 4 stacks of ice. You basically need to basically have 9 ice in order to make 1 packed ice. So that is a ridiculous amount of ice, and I cannot believe that I basically tried to make Mumbo for not knowing that you can craft packed ice from regular ice, because it's like, oh, maybe it's just because he hates regular ice, and it's like, no, it can be useful for stuff, but like, nope. I'm certainly not going to go to the trouble of collecting this much ice. Oh, speaking of which, there's this thing right here. Now, it's a good thing that I found one of these things, because this right here is basically, I don't think that this is some kind of loading error. You know how basically, until I turned off the mob griefing rule, the monsters could actually destroy the terrain, and basically speaking, from this, it does in fact look like this is basically where a monster spawned in, and that basically it's moved on from this area now that after the mob griefing rule has been turned off. So if it's in this area, then it could only mean one of two things. It's either a Batra in his larval form or a Batra in his imago form, and it's a good thing that I brought that up, because the reason for why is basically go to my waypoint, scroll down to the Ice Spikes biome. This is basically the Ice Spikes biome that I eventually found by following the frozen river, and I'm basically going to have to get my packed ice from here, because I'm certainly not going to be able to craft it, but as you can see here, yep, I didn't just find this by following a frozen river, I found it by following basically this, because basically I was on a frozen river and I found more of these empty areas right here. Basically, I followed them into this biome where I found more, and they basically go on to form a trail, a completely elongated trail, so that means that if a monster did spawn here, it's definitely moved on from this area, and I'm really wondering how far it goes, and how far, if it will in fact lead me to a monster. So basically, I'm just going to spend the next few minutes following this trail and see what I can find. See, there's another one right there, so maybe it flies. Who knows? I could be basically going after a Batra imago in this case. At least I'm really hoping that this is basically the case with the ice, the snow basically being destroyed by the monster walking or flying over it, because it would just be disappointing if this was just some kind of loading error. But you basically see that you go across this river, and it looks like the ice is starting to grow back. It's starting to basically encroach on this area, so I don't think that it's basically like an error or an increase in temperature. I really think that something had to have destroyed this ice, as it walked along. So we're going to follow this trail, and I've only got like a few more minutes. So basically I'll check in with you guys if I find anything. So I'll talk to you guys then. Okay guys, I'm back. I've been following this trail for the last few hours now, and I've marked up ahead where the trail ended. Now, basically speaking, I was a bit surprised what I found there at the end, because it seems like when I started from the Ice Spikes biome, basically more than almost 3,000 blocks away at this point, imagine my surprise what I eventually came to. But, let's take a listen. Man, they just don't... There it is. I like how it's actually quiet as opposed to the other monsters that basically, start out roaring your friggin' ears off. But, yep, as you can see from this distance, it led me right into another Ice Spikes biome. And that's the thing that I gotta have a gripe with when it comes to the Ice Spikes biomes in the game, because when they were introduced, they were touted as this really rare and exotic biome that you'd have to go to parts unknown to find. But every single time I've played Minecraft since they were introduced, I've found that, well, basically, they usually line the edges of an Ice Plains biome, and they basically, just sort of get clumped together like this. Basically, if you find one Ice Spikes biome and then travel across the Ice Plains, you're going to find another Ice Spikes biome. But, as you can hear, we've got someone up there waiting for us, so let's take a look. Yep, there he is. Batra in his larval form. The alpha larva. Yep, it looks like my hunch was right. This really was a trail. I mean, granted, it's not really technically a trail because basically, like, well, it really does seem like this is all just some kind of chunk loading error that's basically caused by, like, all the mods that I'm running. But there is, like, a cold taiga nearby that this Batra larva could have wandered out from, and that is quite a significant distance for him to travel. But, as you can see here, I've named this waypoint Monster Parallel, and you're going to find out why that is, but let's get a closer look at him. You guys hear that? Yep. It seems like this Batra isn't alone here because... Whoa! He attacked me! Forgot that these things were so aggressive, because I guess I'm just not used to flying around outside of creative mode. Awesome, he's using energy. He's using his lightning beam from his horn. Right, we're gonna leave him alone for now because Batra is basically such a rare spawn that unless I basically can find more of them, I'm less inclined to, like, attack and fight them. And I'm even less inclined to fight and kill this one, particularly because of what's over here. Some of you guys might have seen it, but look. Yep, there's Batra in his imago form, his fully realized adult form. So, not only was there a larva form here, but there was also his adult form as well. And I just love it, because basically, this one was in similar fashion to the larva. It spawned in the cold Taiga Hills, and it wandered all the way over here. It's excellent. I love the fact that these guys could travel quite a distance. I mean, it's basically kind of like the Burning Godzilla that spawned near my home. He basically spawned on the other side of the river, and then he started migrating up the mountain. So, basically seeing these guys in the same location is really a treat, considering that these guys spawn pretty rarely. Let me pause it for a second so that you don't have to hear the roars. So, the reason that I get kind of annoyed with this mod is that I felt like it needed a bit tweaking on the monster spawning rates. The real problem comes in is the fact that Burning Godzilla, Regular Godzilla, and King Ghidorah, they all spawn in more common biomes, and they all spawn in multiple ones. I mean, it's understandable that King Kong can spawn in the jungle and in forest biomes, but Godzilla can basically spawn wherever there is an ocean, and Burning Godzilla, and he also spawns in plains as well, and forests, and so does King Ghidorah, so that's basically like close to three. That's a biome right there where three monsters can potentially spawn, and that's what causes them to be so common, especially because forests, plains, and oceans are pretty common, but King Ghidorah also spawns in mountain biomes, extreme hills, and whatnot. Basically anywhere there's a high altitude, and that's also where Rodans spawn, and Burning Godzilla, so that's basically like you're pretty much guaranteed to run into those monsters, whereas Batra, in both his imago and larval form, they sort of get the short end of it. They only spawn in one biome each. With the larva, he only spawns in cold taigas, whereas the flying form, the imago, he only spawns in cold taiga hills. And that's really disappointing, because I feel like Batra should be allowed to spawn a whole lot more. You should be able to find Batra, like, out in the ocean as well. And you should also be able to find Batra in basically the ice plains or ice mountains, or even here in the ice spikes. That's why I'm so excited about seeing Batra here. So it's just disappointing, because when you've seen so many Burning Godzillas and King Ghidorahs and regular Godzillas just so populating this area, it kind of makes the monsters less special in my eyes. But only being able to see one or two rare specimens of Batra and in his larval form and imago form, it really makes it a lot more interesting. But anyways, I basically found this ice spikes area, so And they basically extend out over there in that direction, so it'll be a safe distance away for me to start harvesting. But there's also another reason why I called this place the Monster Parallel, because you remember what I said about the monsters spawning in biomes? Well, if we move towards this way, keep your ears peeled. Ears open. Yep, he's here too. King Ghidorah. He spawned here. And, you know, it's kind of a personal thing, but I honestly think that's why the Batras are moving in this direction. I mean, basically we've seen an example of the burning Godzilla moving towards the Rodan near my compound. He's just very slow about doing it. But part of my headcanon is basically like, if you look up the Tales of the Elias series, Batra was created by the spirit of the earth to protect it from damage, and according to the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, King Ghidorah basically, like, once landed on planet Earth, wiped out the dinosaurs, and even exterminated part of the, if not most of the Mothra race. So, my Tales of the Elias story implied that Batra was literally born to fight and even kill King Ghidorah, so that's basically what the main conflict of the story basically becomes. So, man, I really miss that story. I need to get back to writing that, so it's kind of cool realizing that Batra is headed this way and could be on a collision course with King Ghidorah. That would be a sight to see. But we're not just dealing with King Ghidorah here in these mountains, because if we go this way... Yep. He's here too. Yep. Burning Godzilla is here as well. Dude, you really just picked the wrong time, really, for this. And it's not just Burning Godzilla, because we basically circle around him. Oh, we're getting radiation poisoning. Look at that guy, he's burning up. Yep, there are two of them. So... oh my god, there's three. It really does irritate me, because Burning Godzilla is supposed to be the strongest out of all these boss monsters, and yet he's literally the most common. It must be something wrong with the spawn rate. I've checked the config files, and it basically say that the minimum spawn is set to 0, and the maximum spawn is set to 1, and the chances of him spawning is also set to 1, and yet you can barely find an area where there is just one. Finding 3 of them in a tight location like this is actually quite common, and I've even found 5 in one location. So that basically makes me think that they really should, like, the makers of the mod really should have basically toned down Burning Godzilla to a higher degree, because it's like, the more you see him, not only does he become less special, but he also becomes more annoying. And I feel like the more he spawns, less other monsters can spawn. But anyways, I just felt like this was a cool kind of area to, like, show off once I found it, and I'm so glad that my theory about all the Holy crap! There's 6 of them! And they burned that tree! You see what I mean? There are just 7! There are just too many puddle-jumping burning Godzillas! And who can abide by that racket? I gotta get out of here. I'm tired of hearing that. What the... Huh? Another Batra! Holy crap, this is the first time I've ever seen 2 of them so close together! Seriously. I mean, did the one that was over there spawn from here? Well, who knows? Maybe this means that basically the algorithm could be changing, so... Anyway, I just basically wanted to show off all that stuff, but as you guys can remember, I've got a mission to accomplish. So now, I'm going to head on over here, and I'm going to harvest as much packed ice as I possibly can. And I'll talk to you guys when I got that finished.